Hi there folks, today I've got something a little bit different for you. I'm going to be showing you one of the ways that I make sure that all the systems that I send out abroad and locally are kept safe by making a custom flight case. I'm going to show you how to do one at home. We're starting by marking up the panels. I suggest using 6mm ply or a plastic alternative like hexaboard. I'm using MDF because my local place was out of stock, funnily enough. It'll work, but it's not ideal. Remember to include the interior padding when planning the case dimensions though. To cut the panels, I use a plunge saw on a track, along with a miter saw to trim the narrower parts. That said, you don't need to use these. A jigsaw and a steady hand will do just fine. Panels all prepared, it's time to cut the metal extrusions. Handy tip for working out how long the extrusions need to be: fit the corner pieces onto the wood and draw a line where they end. Measure between these lines and you can find the exact size. I like to round up a little bit because making them a little bit too long doesn't affect the case, but too short will cause gaps, so it's worth maybe trying that out. Using a scriber, I scored the aluminium. You can always use marking fluid to make this a little bit easier to see as well. It's 100% necessary to use a miter saw to cut the extrusions, because otherwise the ends won't be flush. You can, however, use a handsaw version if you don't have access to a power saw. I built my first one like that, so it's very much possible. Pro tip: you need the extrusions to be very even in length. Well, an easy way to do this is to use the first one you measured as a jig. That way you only need to measure up 3 pieces in total. It makes it much faster. I managed to cut all these out in maybe 20 minutes or so. Finish with a quick once-over with a deburring tool or a craft knife. Back to the panels for a moment. I'm going to be using recessed handles on mine, so I need to cut out a hole. Simple job for a drill and a jigsaw. Like a glove. The wood panels are going to need some protection. Vinyl is really good for this. I'm using 3M carbon Dynoc for mine as it looks nice. Go for a thick one because the thin stuff scratches and dents way too easily. Cut the vinyl roughly to size and stick it onto the panels. Then, using a heat gun, warm the vinyl and use a squeegee to push out any of the bubbles that may form. The end result are some pretty and protected panels. It's time to assemble everything. If you were careful with the measuring and cutting, it should all just come together with a few taps of a hammer. This is why I like using these particular extrusions. They're so simple to work with. Be sure to check the article link in the description as I've listed exactly what I used in there. Attaching the handles is as simple as drilling and riveting with a pop rivet gun. You could also use screws. It's a good idea to pop rivet the extrusions all around so that they share the loading. It will make the case much stronger. The latches go in the same way. Let's line this up. I'm using 30mm HDPE foam along with acoustic egg box and flat polyethylene foam. Cut roughly to size with an X-Acto knife and then trim to the exact size of the panels. This is way easier than trying to measure everything up from the beginning. To stick the foam to the actual case, I use double-sided tape. I find it much easier to use than spray adhesive and it sticks really well. Flight case finished, Time to pop the rig inside and send her away.